Hello and welcome to the NFT Roundup, your weekly bite-sized chunk of NFT news. Today we're very grateful to have the legend that is Toby Lasso with us. How are you doing today, Toby?
Good, thank you, mate. Nice to be here. Thanks for having me. Talk about the news.
Yeah, you're welcome anytime. So yeah, this is our NFT Roundup show. I think this is our third episode now. We're trying to keep them short, under half an hour, but I do tend to waffle on, so we'll see how we do. Before we jump into the news, let's have a quick catch up with you, Toby. How's it all been going since we had you on last?
Yeah, it's been going well. Lots of ups and downs, swings and roundabouts, but it's just the game we play in the NFT space. But yeah, it's been super interesting. It was loved being on your guys' podcast before, and since then we've launched Weather Report and created with the largest NFT festival that anyone's seen, and just coming off the back of that for the last 2 days, and yeah, just sort of been trading in the background and trying to stay abreast of everything going on while building.
Awesome. Yeah, I think so. Weather Report, how long ago was it now that you minted? It was
Just over a month ago
just
now,
over a month ago. So that was like literally the beginning of this little kind of mini bear market that we've come into. But you guys are still minted out straight away. Good performance there. You kind of like were like the end of the little mini bull market we had just as we kind of transitioned into this bear market. How was that for you? Were you aware of that when you came to mint, that the market kind of engagement was down? Did it affect you in any way?
Yeah, I think, like at the end of February, we had quite a lot of projects, Star Catchers and Wonder Pals and
Yeah.
Invisible Friends and all that. We ended up seeing quite a bit of a liquidity suck because from all of our favorite projects, or the projects we've been a part of, as people rush to get into some of these projects that had come down with the mini bear market and had a bit more agreeable floors. So it's been definitely interesting. Obviously, just so excited to mint out and have such an amazing community stick with us. It's not been easy, absolutely not. But when we start delivering on roadmap items and showing people that the project is built differently, we start seeing a good price correction and start moving again. I think we had to sit down and be like, okay, well, where we're gonna aim for the medium to long term, and delivering on those metrics and just quietly working in the background and showing the value as the weeks and months go past.
Absolutely, and I think the one thing I really liked, well, one of the things I should say that I liked about your project is that you did have a really good long-term plan for it. I remember when we had you on the podcast talking about it, I think that was definitely one of the things that's really important to me for a project these days, is that they A, have a really strong brand, and B, it goes beyond the mint. So a lot of people are just so focused on the mint and the artwork, and that's it. Whereas you guys you had a big team working on this. You guys were thinking about all the different aspects and the caveats that go into building not just an NFT project, but a brand and a company as well.
Yeah, I think it's the NFT space constantly moving goalposts all the time, changing, evolving day after day, week after week. And I think this is one of the first times that we launched Weather Report with the express intention of it being a brand, and I think sometimes that can be a little bit unpalatable compared to what we do know already, which is like the origin story. And, this person's been drawing this artwork for 10 years and we're championing them. And in this way, it's, underneath a creative director and being built out as a brand in a way that, Nike, Coca-Cola, Supreme build out their brands, and just trying to find the right balance of making sure that we maintain that higher echelon brand ethos while also delivering for our holders and generating value and in real life events, and still cultivating a really powerful community. It's been a really interesting new challenge to navigate compared to some of the projects I've been a part of before, and it's just great. You just keep learning.
Yeah, that's cool. It's a good feather for your cap as well, because obviously the Vinny Hager's letters was very much art focused, and then this is more that kind of bigger brand and company and bigger collection. So it's cool that you're sort of ticking them off now. I'm interested to see what you're going to do next.
Yeah, some fun things in the works for sure. I'm excited to start sharing over the next few months. But I want to like a lot of what I've realized over the last 6 weeks or since we last spoke is that balance is imperative, and there are 1,000 things to make and build, and umpteen amazing people to make them with when you're lucky enough to be connected through these events and in the space over the last year. So it's just picking moments, times, and correct builds and trying to build something. I mean, I definitely want to make sure that my attention stays with the projects that I'm a part of, and it always will do. But anything I build going forward, akin from those things, will be different and hopefully, space changing rather than just what people have been seeing and have been buying.
I think this is going to be such an interesting year for NFTs. I think last year was that really build up of that hype and a lot more people joining the space and the big institutions and companies coming in. And I think this year is going to be, it's a bit of pathfinding, and it's going to be a lot of innovation, and it's just going to be, I think it's just going to snowball, and it's going to be, by this time next year, I think the whole space is just going to be unrecognizable to how it is today.
Oh, I mean, I think about a year prior, the Bored Apes just celebrated a year, and like Cool Cats in July and stuff like that. It's just so different from even 8 months ago, if not 3 months ago, when we were getting free tokens airdrop for Christmas. Like that doesn't happen anymore because it's just like we just keep going through phases, and it's really amazing. I feel like, if there's any reason to get into NFTs early, it's to just live through the phases, so you have more like understanding. The longer you spend researching and experiencing phase after phase after phase, just the more intelligent you get, the more easy, or the more easy it is to see red flags and all that other stuff. So just happy to be a part of things for sure.
I going back on that, I better be getting more airdrops for Christmas. That is now part of the tradition for me. If I don't get an airdrop over Christmas that I can kind of show off to my family, who've all been telling me crypto and NFTs are a scam for ages, then what's Christmas all about?
Can the devs do something, please?
Yeah, it's the old stocking filler airdrops. So we're going to race through some of these things because we want to get onto the news, but we can't not talk about it. Weatherfest, I've seen it. I really wanted to go, couldn't afford to fly out there. I've already got plans to fly out, I think, to the US three times in the first 6 months of this year. So I held back. I'm looking forward to Weatherfest London. But tell me about how it went.
It was really amazing. I mean, it's something we've been working and cultivating for a while. I mean, we mentioned earlier, minted a month ago, and this was the first thing that we really wanted to deliver on. And as I talked back on the pod a few months ago, we are the sum of our parts at Weather Report, and we have our hands in loads of different areas of Web 2 and Web 3, and so sort of those crossover connections, especially with Will and Zach's background in streetwear and music, and we hired a head of IRL who runs a bunch of quite affluent clubs over here and nighttime spots and things, and so we definitely padded out our team initially with the people that we needed, and then we spent the last 2.5-3 weeks just making sure that we could deliver on it, and I think that it was a testament to what we can deliver. I think a lot of people were waiting in the wings to see if we could really pull off what we said we were going to. I tweeted like a month and a half ago that Weatherfest was going to be like unlike any NFT event anyone's ever seen ever before, and I got a lot of people being like, this is cap, like what are you talking about? And I was like, okay, we'll just wait till the 24th. So I feel really, really like thankful for how it went, and for the people who came. We had a fly out contest, and we got to fly out someone from England and from all over, and just to get to like be with the people who have been in the Discord, like just looking out for us, and people who've rocked with the project from the beginning. That's who it was for. The most important part of the night was getting all of our holders in to make sure that they could do the experience, and then adding in sort of like the curated playlist element. We didn't just have one artist play and be like, this was the headliner artist. What was really important to us is the music that we listen to, or that definitely inspires LA culture, was represented in a way that ran like a playlist, from Buddy to Soulja Boy to YG, Sway Lee, and just a bunch of amazing DJs like Blondie Beach and Pedro and stuff. Like it was special, and it was special to be able to deliver on all of those things and see the artists there enjoying where they were as well. Like it was super cool. Everyone's been to a show where like artists were clearly turned up and were like, I'll just do my 30-minute set and then I'll leave. But there were a ton of other artists who just showed up, like Theopas London was there, and like people were just hanging out because that was the cool thing to do that night. And so it was really special to do what we set out to do, which is part of our sort of supreme ethos, which is bridge Web 2 and Web 3. I think that Web 3 can just be like an echo chamber sometimes of like 1,000 people on spaces yelling the same trope at each other. To be able to have like people come and be like, oh, this is the first NFT I ever bought. Oh, I didn't know NFTs were this cool. Like, I think that making sure that we can make NFTs look palatable to people who aren't necessarily in the space yet is very important. And then bringing 70% NFT people, 30% Web2 uninitiated people together to just talk and converse ends up with people probably buying NFTs.
I don't think you can't go to an event like after having been to ETH Denver and the Crypto Dads meetup and just the vibe that you get. I think as someone who's outside of it, coming into one of these places and seeing what the vibe's like, it's got to drag you down the rabbit hole. And no kicking and screaming involved.
Exactly. Voluntarily jumping down the rabbit hole.
That's it. And I think this festival, these in real life events, like a lot of projects kind of crowbar in their meetups, but I think it's so perfect for your brand, what you guys are doing, the people you've got working on your project, everything that you're building and doing. It's just such a good synergy between that and the kind of festival and the kind of thing, the event that you put on. It marries up so well.
Yeah, I think, there's definitely a gap in the market, or for people who, projects who can deliver on quite large scale events that are embraced in culture. Like meetups for individual projects are fantastic and wonderful, and I've been to many of them. Cool Cats and all these other projects that I'm a part of, and we run them for Vinny and these other things. But with Weatherfest and Weather Report, like it is a festival. It's meant to be a fest, and there's some really great feedback, people calling it baby Coachella and like all this other stuff. Like it was really nice to hear, especially coming from especially coming from like Web3 is our home. We made it our home in the last year, and we're every bit part of it as everyone else, and love it for the reasons that are pure. And so to be able to bring what we've done over the last sort of 7 years collectively, especially Will and Zach with their event management planning and culture building, and then to bring it into the space that we love so much, and just put the foot down is really cool. So excited to be able to deliver sort of 10x that in New York for NFT NYC. That's our next stop.
Oh, amazing. Yeah, absolutely. Me and Kelsey have actually just booked our NYC NFT tickets, so I'm very much looking forward to coming to your event as well and hanging out for a beer. Now, when we had you on the podcast last time, we asked you about what your worst ever trade was as part of our quickfire questions, and you mentioned that you had actually minted 5 Bored Apes and managed to paper hand them at 0.2.
Yeah.
Now, I was very happy to see that you had managed to get back into the ecosystem recently with a Bored Ape purchase at the local bottom. It was about 68 ETH. Tell us a bit about it.
Yeah. So very excited to come full circle on the apes. And like I do want to start out by saying, I may identify as a cool cat, and like that's the project that I love and that grew my network in this space. However, what Yuga Labs is doing is truly magnificent. Like I mean, and I mean that in the scale of grandeur more than I mean it in like how you should feel about it. Like obviously everyone has their own opinion as to monopolization of Web3 and all that other stuff. But I've really come to, over the last 6 months, just respect how Yuga Labs moves. And I don't know, I've been feeling for a very long time that if I had a good opportunity or a good entry opportunity, that I would get back into the Bored Ape ecosystem with what they had planned out on their roadmap. And, I think regardless of how you feel about the project, you have to appreciate the stature and the grandeur it's grown to. Like they bought their biggest competitor, and now have that all under an umbrella. They're pushing the idea of land in the metaverse, and at the end of the day, there's too many people co-signed onto the project who are culturally relevant for it to sort of potentially lose its luster in any way that's too massive. And so I think we start
too big to fail.
Yeah, we need to start looking at it really as the Bitcoin of NFTs. That's how I see it. It's the backbone of our ecosystem. If that fails, then everything goes down, because that's what's propping up the majority of the liquidity in the market. Or it's definitely a signal for how people are looking at the health of the market. But yeah, I got extremely lucky. I was inside an entire bottle of gin and been thinking about it for a long time. And it was about 2 a.m, and I was in Guernsey visiting my wife's family for the first time, and I was just like, I'm gonna do it, darling. And she was like, okay, do whatever you want. She's got a picture of me like with my eyes covered, like it's the most expensive thing I've ever bought. But it turned out that I actually bought I bought the absolute bottom. Then they announced Ape Token a week later, and then the floor went back up to previous to a previous height. And it was, Yeah, and people were like, "Oh, like where did you get the information from? It was the insider trading," and I was like, I
It was at
promise
the
you,
bottom of my
I
bottle of
just
gin.
it was yeah. Well, that's what Winnie said. She said it was gin cider trading. But it was
Love it.
I promise you, I'm a notorious top buyer. So I'm just gonna say now, I was due. I was due. So I feel very lucky and very blessed. But yeah, I think that just understanding that what they're doing and what they're building is extremely relevant. Whether you
Yeah.
like the mutants, whether you like the apes, whether you don't like Bored Ape, whether you don't like Yuga at all, they are too big to not recognize now, and it's important to understand that they hold up the backbone of our system.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm slightly annoyed that you've stolen my analogy because I was going to compare them to Bitcoin as well. That was my
I'm
thing.
sorry.
I've got it on my notes almost. But yeah, that I completely agree. I really think they have become the Bitcoin of the NFT space, and I think that we're actually going to see the market behave in a really similar way. That we have the kind of the way that Bitcoin goes up first, and then you have Bitcoin levels off, and then the altcoin. I almost said ape coins. Then the altcoins rally, and you have a little alt season, and then it all kind of tracks with Bitcoin's price action. We are seeing that a bit from already from the way that Bored Ape sort of leads the market, and I think we talked about it a lot on the last NFT roundup about how they've created the ApeCoin just created an amazing liquidation event for ape holders that really want to not get rid of their apes, but gave them a chance to take some profits and actually injected quite a lot of money back into the market. And we've seen that because we've had, and I think we're going to have 3 stages in the NFT market now because you've got the Bored Ape ecosystem rallies, then the rest of the blue chips rally, then you get the proper altcoin season. So it's like Bitcoin, Ethereum, and then the rest of the alts, very similar to crypto. But this is nicely linked us over to the first news story, which kind of dropped literally just straight after we recorded the last episode, so it didn't make it in. Although I did put it on the TV graphics. It was that Bored Ape dropped that Other Side trailer for their Metaverse. Very cool trailer. I'm assuming that you saw it.
I did, of course.
Yeah.
And I think I tweeted at the time, if you score anything with the doors, I'm pretty much in. And I believe that as an important understanding. Like, right. I don't know, I'm just huge
I'm
into
taking
music.
A note on that.
Yeah. I don't know. There's just some. I think maybe I've been living in Venice too long, and it just like everywhere I walk, I feel like the doors like you can just see why they made the music the way they did by like how Venice is. It's just like it links so well.
Nice.
But yeah, an amazing trailer and really cool to see. Like other projects co-signed in that trailer. Like come and join us. And so that's. I mean, it was really cool. Someone even like edited the spaceship on like the corner and was like, no one zoomed in on like the corner of the spaceship, and they drew like Vinny's letters.
Yeah, that was very
so
cool.
cool.
I love that. Yeah, that was good. In fact, and I was definitely one of the people who was like, oh my god, I didn't notice that. He's definitely done it. And then obviously it turned out they had photoshopped it, but really well. It looked good, didn't it? I'll stick an image up on the screen behind us so people can see what we're talking about. But I like that a lot. And yeah, the linking in with the other projects was cool. So I think they haven't announced much about what the metaverse that they're building is, but seeing that same kind of interoperability that we get with World Wide Web, which is another metaverse project, like a 2D pixel version where you can bring in your NFT from another collection, which is I think so important because as we've talked about so many times, NFTs are becoming people's digital brand, their digital identity, and people want to rep that and not be sort of changing over. And so I think we're going to definitely have to see this kind of interoperability as a big part of these metaverse projects. And also, obviously, they're working with Animoca Brands. They seem to be really well linked with them. Those are the guys that are building the Sandbox. I know that Sandbox have said that they're going to be integrating ApeCoin in some kind of way into some sneaky secret project that they're building. I just think the whole way that they've marketed this, the whole way that they're doing their releases, the enigmas that are out there, keeping people guessing, not overhyping stuff for really long times before it kind of drops. They do it it's quite snappy marketing that they do. They're really creating this amazing playbook that a lot of projects are going to try and follow. Did you take any inspiration for Weather Report from anything from Bored Apes?
I wouldn't say like maybe direct influence, but like they influence everything we do in the NFT space. So like you're constantly watching how people release projects, and especially if you're building them, you need to be keeping an eye on what people are using and how marketing keeps evolving, because it does keep evolving. I mean, like my wife's working on a project called Figure Got at the moment.
Looks very cool.
which is the brainchild of Jess Wiseman, who's just absolutely amazing, one of the most talented people I've ever met in the space. She's 20 years old and just like just unbelievable. And like the way that they've been dropping some of their videos and stuff is just like all super high quality, like riddles, stuff to get into the Discord, like secret QR codes that are stuck in like the corner on the side table or something in the middle of a film. Like they've just really raising the bar as to like how things can be released. And I think that it's just like so cool and interesting to see something different than the same old trope, you know, like retweet this for this, that, and the other, you know, and it's just like trying to engage a little bit more, because we've been having conversations as a whole space, I think, over sort of the last 4-5 months now about how tired the whitelist system is, or allow list, or whatever you choose to call it. And I think that, you know, just trying to find more creative ways until a more solid solution and fair solution is created, I think is always fun.
I think I was talking about, I think it was the last NFT roundup I was talking about it, is that I think it's verging on disrespectful now for our consumers, that the way that we're making people jump through hoops, and that people can grind and get tattoos and spend hours and hours and days jumping through these flaming hoops for projects and not getting whitelist because they're just not shouting loud enough, for just bad luck. And I think, as I say, it just feels so disrespectful to people to kind of treat them in this way. And I definitely hope that we're going to have some innovation there and get it a bit more of a level playing field for some people.
I agree.
I think even like our last couple of podcast episodes, we've been putting in little, with the projects we've got on, we've been putting little Easter eggs in there instead. So to win a whitelist, they just have to keep an eye on the TV screen at the back, and at some point, like we've been doing like making a random Twitter account that they have to follow, and then what we do is use a random follower picker to select who gets the whitelist from that, and people really enjoyed that. I think it's a bit more fun than, you know, having to type GM 8,000 times into a Discord, or you know, type in a Discord invite link like quicker than humanly possible as soon as someone drops it on their Twitter. It's just been crazy. But so moving on, I'm going to talk about this news drop today about the Frosties project. Do you remember the Frosties project? It was I think it was around January. I
was like busy head down with Weather Report stuff during that time, but I have been reading up on it, and funny to watch all of our notorious ruggers of the space return quickly to pay people out for giveaways and things that but I mean it's great, right? It's obviously great. More oversight for people who are blatantly stealing, lying. It needs to happen. And this is obviously a shot across the bow from the Department of Justice, from the US legal system. You know, Biden required his report into cryptocurrency to be released in the next 120 days. And this is obviously them taking steps to start to regulate the space. And obviously that comes with you know, us all standing a little bit weary, being like, oh, you know, we don't want the restrictions to come in too tight, but the most important thing is that people are, you know, hopefully getting justice. And you minted Frosties, didn't you? Is that right?
Yeah. You've been sneaking in my wallet again, haven't you? Yeah, I did mint. So first of all, I'll give a bit of background on Frosties just in case anyone doesn't know. So Frosties was an NFT collection in January that offered it was you know, the very cute kind of art style that it was really popular at the time and still is. It was offering lots of holder rewards such as giveaways, early access to a Metaverse game that they were building, exclusive mint passes to upcoming Frosties seasons, and basically a couple of hours after they minted, they deactivated their website and transferred the $1.1 million worth of ETH that they generated off to various wallets. I did mint it. It was a bit of an annoying one because January was a time where we had a huge influx, like a parabolic influx of new users into the space, and at the same time we had also a parabolic increase in the amount of scams. There were so many scams and rugs in January and February. And I know a number of my friends my Muggle friends who weren't into the NFT space, they had stepped in, and one in particular had highlighted Frosties to me in the group. And I was at a stage where I'd had a really good December, and I was just kind of just chucking ETH at stuff really. And this was one. So I think I minted 3 of them. I really didn't like the artwork. So it was honestly, I was just looking for a quick flip, so I kind of deserve getting burnt on this one, I guess, a little bit. But I minted one and wasn't hugely surprised when they just disappeared and deleted their website, etc. So they've recently come under fire from the Department of Justice. I think I've got a quote from the special agent in charge, which is Thomas Fataruso. Now, he said NFTs represent a new era for financial instruments, but the same rules apply to an investment in an NFT or a real estate development. You can't solicit funds for a business opportunity, abandon the business, and abscond with money investors provided to you. Our team here at the IRS-CI and our partners at HSI closely track cryptocurrency transactions in an effort to uncover alleged schemes like this one. So yeah, it's good. Like you say, a shot across the bow. I mean, we definitely need some form of regulate or protection against these sort of scammers and these people that are doing all these rug pulls. But I think you're right. Do we want this heavy-handed regulation coming in that we have from the normal world? This is kind of the bankless revolution where we're going to be self-sovereign and looking after our own assets and taking that responsibility. So I think we don't necessarily want this huge centralized entity to come in and police it for us. We've got to get to a point, I think, where we need to innovate around kind of policing it ourselves. But it is good to see that they've come in and arrested the guys, and hopefully some of the people that have lost out money get their money back. I mean, I'm not holding out any hope.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's tough, isn't it? Because in any human interaction, going back to the beginning of civilization, people have been disingenuous and tried to steal, whether that's a loaf of bread or finessing the stock market to swindle people out of their 401ks. Like it's happened extensively, and I think that Web3 is amazing, and we're creating the new understanding of the value of currency and the value of art and the value of experience and interaction, and it's going to come. It does already come with some really wild risks, but as soon as we can start using the innovative people in our own communities, which I know there are hundreds of thousands, these things are being worked on, and if we can make it slowly safer for people without too much government intrusion, that's the end goal. But at the end of the day, there does need to be I'm a decentralized maxi in pretty much every way, but at the same time there needs to be some sort of threat of jail time or something genuinely serious to hopefully dissuade these people from doing it as regularly as they do already.
We will burn your seed phrases. If you do this again, we will.
That guy who bought Bitcoin in 2009 and then went on got sent to jail for 10 years and couldn't sell anything is now the happiest man coming out of jail. He was like, I'm so glad I was in jail because I would have sold this immediately.
I think there's a lot of stories like that, especially with a lot of what it was used for. But I think what's kind of good about obviously blockchain is that it's on the public ledger and it's there, and you can see every single wallet address that minted this. And in theory, if they could, in theory, reverse those transactions if the kind of regulation that went against them, and they give them an opportunity to give the money back and they could refund it. Literally, exactly every single wallet that minted. So there's something that could be done there. But I'm looking forward to some kind of innovation really about transparent financing for some of these projects, to see that to a point where what I've always loved about blockchain is the autonomous nature of the code and the fact that you don't need the middlemen to process anything. The whole system is run by the code. You only have to trust in the math, which was the big thing for me, what got me excited about crypto in the first place. And maybe we'll see in the future that when these projects use some kind of trustless service where they can associate their the mint funds that they have, and it automatically goes into these separate wallets that are multi-sig and can only be used for certain things, so people can't just rug you. And then maybe we'll see that there's a trend in that, and that is something that people won't mint projects unless they can see this kind of transparent financial methodology being used on the mint proceeds.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, like our Weather Report safe is set up through a Gnosis safe that is a multi-sig between, all of our founders and ledgers. Like it's important. It's super important. It brings me on to a wider question actually that I've been a wider statement, I would say, rather, that I've been thinking about recently, which is just like trying to track some influencers, like bigger NFT influencers' money in the space. People using Tornado Cash and routing it, other things, and like it's tough because you have to ride the balance between, do I want people knowing how much money I make from these things and what I'm selling it on? And I've come, people have come from me being like, why are you buying a Bored Ape? And I'm like, because I am also a trader as well, and I've earned the money that I've earned and can spend it how I'd like to spend it. But I'm, I thought for a brief second there, I was like, oh, maybe I should put this through Tornado Cash and do it on a burner wallet so that, maybe I don't come under so much scrutiny, but then you're fighting against the idea of transparency to begin with, and it's like, no, I'm just going to be who I'm going to be, and if you're going to, if you want to be upset, then we can have a talk about why I believe that I'm allowed to move in the space in the same way as other people, because at the end of the day, we've seen too many influencers pump these bags, pretend they don't have them, and then cash them all out on the other side. And you know what? I tell you what, the government will catch up at some point, and it maybe 5-6 years from now, when they actually have the tools to, the millions and millions of dollars they spent on blockchain combing tools that are in development now. Yeah. Like you need to just move in a way that is just respectable, because I guarantee you this will come and bite people. Because when this becomes a worldwide thing, there will need to be some people all locked up for what they did. In the 5 years prior, so the government can say, hey, look, we're starting from a clean slate, and these people went to jail, and now we're looking at everything.
Yeah, I find it funny that the blockchain and crypto has this reputation of people, nefarious actors are using it. It's all about people scamming people, and it's crime. It's just like, it's literally the worst system to use for that kind of thing, because it's a public ledger and it's there forever, and anyone can write a decent bot crawler, crawl all the data, and just tell you exactly what's been going on. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that kind of evolves over time. So the next story I wanted to talk about is the Veve marketplace exploit. Now, I think that's the way that you pronounce it. I'm not a user myself of the Veve marketplace. I've been assured that this is how it's pronounced. Hopefully I've got it right. But Veve is the NFT marketplace, which is popular among some really big mainstream brands such as Marvel, Pixar, and Coca-Cola. I think the reason they use it is it's not on East Mainnet. It's supposedly more environmentally friendly, and also it kind of gives them there's a centralized, controlled company that is making these brand partnerships with them and controlling the way that these things operate. A bit background on the story. The marketplace shut down on Tuesday after someone leveraged an exploit which allowed them to acquire millions of Veve gems, which is their in-app token, which you use to purchase all of their NFTs. This whole thing happening crashed the price of both the token, the gem, as well as all of the NFTs listed on their site. I think there was a guy who had bought, I can't remember the actual price of his NFT, but he bought one and it dropped 80% like a week later because of this exploit and because of what happened. So this really opens up questions about NFT marketplaces and the benefits of using kind of slightly more slightly is the big word here, more decentralized NFT marketplaces rather than these kind of centralized authorities. What are your thoughts on this story?
Yeah, my wife always says, she's like, when something like this happens, she goes, single point of failure. Yeah, that's what crypto's not about. She's like, well, what did you expect? Single point of failure. And
does that get used to you as well? Are you offered the single point of failure for things?
Sometimes she's just like, single point of failure, and then she points directly at me. No, but she's right. She's 100% right. And, I think that we're trying to build this new world, trying to, make things more fair and, decentralized. And these exploits only further hurt what we're all trying to build, especially when large companies are involved. This one matters a huge amount because of the companies who are involved with it, and if the companies are burned, they'll be less likely to return with the same, verb or vigor for that, for better lack of a word, really. And yeah, it's tough because centralization will help with things like, centralization for like Coinbase, NFT marketplace, like that being a centralized exchange in theory is potentially a positive thing because it onboards people and gives them an easier way to buy NFTs that doesn't include sending it to a browser extension that they potentially don't want to do or don't feel safe doing. And so I think it's a Libra scale. We have to maintain a little bit of balance, but exploits like this don't help anyone. But it's why the Sol ecosystem has a single point of failure. Like some of these other places. And I think that I don't think there's enough maybe literature out there or education out there about what these things are and why they've happened. The last thing, there's a story you always hear, I just got into NFTs and I've lost all my money in the first week because of something that was technically out of my control, or I just the education aspect is where we need to prevail here, because again, the Wild West, these things happen and it's really unfortunate. But the more that people understand, all the way from not your keys, not your crypto to this sort of stuff, it's important.
Yeah, and it's complicated. It's hard to get into, and I know a lot of people that their only exposure to the NFT space is the Veve marketplace because it's the recognizable brands that they know and they feel it's going to go up. But in general, the user experience that I've heard from using the app is really terrible. The way that you have to queue, people are just sitting there spamming the buy button because they know as soon as it comes on sale, they sell out within seconds, and it's just the whole system. The way it works is just it's I don't find it. It's not that great, and I think we're still in this. It's funny. I find the Web3 brand of Web3 quite interesting because, in a way, I'm kind of looking forward to Web4. I kind of see Web3 as Web1, and with the original internet where everything was really janky. You went everything, AOL online. You visited.
You were
websites.
asking Jeeves.
Yeah, exactly. Ask Jeeves. You're visiting websites by IP addresses. You had to dial up modem. It made all the stupid noise. No one could be on the phone while you're on it. It was all janky. It was complicated. Only the weird subsects of society was using it, and everyone was looking at them like raising one eyebrow, like, what are you guys even doing over there? And that's kind of, I think, where we are with Web3 at the moment. And what's for me is going to be really exciting is when it's seamless. As when you don't know you're interacting with a blockchain, when it's all just seamlessly integrated into a user experience that people are more used to and don't notice. It's when you get rid of that breaking the fourth wall, when people don't have that seeing the construction of something, seeing how something works, it just works. That is when the exciting part. That's when we're really going to make it and get that mainstream adoption. And I think that's we've still got a long way to go until we get to that stage.
100%. I know what you mean. I'm excited for Web4, whatever that may be, whether that's living in some sort of altered carbon universe. I'm here for it.
I think, is it going to be like the Matrix where we're all going to be plugged in on the spine, and it's just we're all in Yuga Labs' other side. We all just exist only in the other side as.
Oh, there's a tweet. There's literally a tweet there, and I've just come up with it, and I'm going to post it after this. Do you remember and now I'm thinking about it. I need to actually look at it, but Assassin's Creed, like the company that makes Assassin's Creed, inside the game, and you go into like some sort of thing. Surely there's some combination between Yuga Labs logo and that logo.
So what is the name of what is the name of their company as well? In that, because that was always the worst bits in the Assassin's Creed game, though, wasn't it? You were like playing, you were like, yeah, I've assassinated someone. Oh no, I've got to play this bloody cutscene back into the lab or whatever it is. But yeah, hang on, I think you're right. Games and sort of media often predict the future, and maybe the Assassin's Creed company is Yuga Labs. You heard it here first, the NFT Roundup.
I mean, and you know what? And I tweeted it the other day, and I stand by it. I, for one, welcome our new Yuga overlords. They seem to be this. They've only given out money to the people who believed in them, so I've got no reason to fade them.
Okay, so the last story we want to cover this week is about the World of Women companion drop. So World of Women, huge blue chip NFT collection that you probably all know. Today, about an hour after we finish recording, they'll be launching their companion drop, which is World of Women Galaxy, which is very similar to their initial drop of World of Women, but a slightly different style of characters that are supposedly from another planet. The drop is going to be completely free for World of Women holders. They're also going to be doing a Dutch auction as a public sale, and also allowing people on their allow list to purchase for 0.3 ETH. They've marketed it pretty well. There's quite a lot of hype around this one. I know a lot of celebrities and influencers and other prominent projects have been promoting it. We've had people like Gwyneth Paltrow and Reese Witherspoon promoting the project, putting a few tweets out about it. They've also had some partnerships with Zipkeys and Boss Beauties. They were in the Yuga Labs trailer in the little spaceship at the end. So yeah, lots and lots of hype about this project. Did you ever own a World of Women, Toby?
No, I've never been a World of Women holder, and it's actually one of my biggest regrets, if I'm being completely honest. One of the first projects after I sold my Bored Apes and I was moving around, I got into was Fame Lady Squad. And they at the time were pegged as the first ever female ran NFT and launched, and it was all female collection, it still is. And then there was obviously the very famous rugging that happened with that, with the founders coming out being a few Russian guys. And then obviously the crazy transition and amazing transition to Bored Becky taking over there, and then a couple of other great people from that community shepherding it through into a new era, which was super cool to see. I think it's the first time that had happened. But I then was like, oh man, like I've been burned. It was one of my
Yeah.
first burnings, and then World of Women came out, and I was like, oh, we were still like, oh, I thought this was the first female one, but really, I just then got taken aside by Cool Cats and meeting everyone and then building letters and other stuff. So
Yeah.
I never got one, but I am now definitely kicking myself for not having one. And seeing, I was very lucky to film for the documentary that Metacitizen are making called Not a JPEG, which would be one of
Yeah.
the first NFT documentaries, which was really cool. And they interviewed the World of Women founders, and they're just so inspiring and amazing. And it's just one of those ones that I was like, I keep meaning to go and allocate the money to do it, and now it's like definitely hitting all the heights it should do. So
Yeah.
it's exciting about the companion drop as well, because we've seen that sort of technically happening. It seems to be a new kind of trend, I know the Dead Fellas did their Dead Friends, but then also, you've got like most recently Gutter Cat Gang releasing all of their different serums,
Yeah.
and it's just like expanding these already good and solid projects that have a good community and base and price action, and then saying, hey, I know that you can't necessarily afford 7, 8, 9, 10 ETH, but would you like to join in an alternate way that gives you the same? It's following the MAYC model, but it's super exciting, and especially for projects that are in that Yuga Labs other side spaceship. I have nothing but to feel but really potentially bullish for stuff like that.
I wish I had any NFT that was in that spaceship. But I think you're right. The whole the kind of mutant apes as well. It kind of gave people that entry into the project. And you think a lot of these projects are like 5,000 or 10,000 pieces. That's not a huge amount, and especially if people own more than one or two of them. If we got lots and lots of more people coming into the space, people want to be part of some of these projects. So it's nice to have some kind of option to getting yourself some exposure to these communities and joining in with the groups. So no, I completely agree with you there. What are your predictions for this one then? Do you think? I mean, I don't know the details on how many they're launching or how many are going for the Dutch auction or anything like that. But I'm kind of thinking it's going to mint out pretty quick, this one.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you've got an amazing community of NFT holders and people behind that community, and I think that. We were talking about it earlier, ape token giving apes finally a bit of liquidity to buy into these projects. So we've seen quite a lot of projects. There's mid-tier or were mid-tier projects now sort of reach elevation, World of Women and, Doodles and Azuki. And, it's interesting to see where those people are putting their money, because clearly that flows down from an influx of ape coin, surely.
Yeah. I was going to say, there's a guy who had 110 Bored Apes. I mean, that's a lot of ape coin that what did you do with your ape coin? I didn't ask you this.
I lost probably about like $10,000 trying to trade ranges with my ape coin, and then I bought back. I like doubled down on my investment at like $11. I was like, right, I'm just gonna buy back in with the original, add in a few more ETH, and so I've got a little bit more, and so I'm holding it. I sat down for a while and I was like, I should be cashing this out and putting it in USDC and doing this other stuff. But then, I definitely took a little bit of profit, but mainly I'm going to hold it. I just think that the land coming next month, and already being rewarded by the BAY ecosystem I've held for 2 weeks.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah. I was just like, right, well, I just kind of fell onto this train, so I think I should probably continue to ride it, but maybe that's the degen in me, who knows?
Yeah, the degen is in all of us, so you've got to watch out for when he rears his ugly head. So yeah, that's pretty much everything today. And now I have put together a little thank you for you for coming on to the NFT Roundup today. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Jimmy Dow. We did talk about it earlier, actually, which is my little meme collection that I put together as a bit of a parody of the Irene Dow. Now, I don't know, have you got access to your wallet at the moment? I might have
do, yeah.
I sent you a little something before we came on to record.
No way. Am I now a Jimmy Dow holder? You're joking.
You may well be.
Let's go. The cowboy. Let's go. That is so rad.
So yeah, I'll stick it on the screen behind us. But yeah, little custom Jimmy Dow. I think it's something I'm going to do for our guests going forwards. Just send them over a little custom Jimmy
He's
Dow.
Beautiful.
For you. So nice. So Toby, yeah, thanks so much for coming on. We'll definitely have to do this again. You're always more than welcome on the show, both the podcast and the NFT Roundup. So yeah, thank you very much.
Dude, no worries. Peace.
Thank you anyone who managed to get this deep into today's episode. To support the channel, you can hit the like button, leave us a comment, tell us what you think. If you're listening to the podcast version, maybe leave us a review. A positive one would be nice. Maybe if you're not enjoying it, don't leave us a review. Send us a DM. Keep that private, yeah. But apart from that, we'll have this show will be back next week with next week's NFT news rounded up for you in a bite-sized chunk, which has ended up being 45 minutes long. But we'll see if we can keep next one a bit shorter. Next week we should have Calcio back, so that'll be good for you. Good to have our little Nip Cat back in the studio. So thanks very much, and I'll catch you on the next one.